Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Commander Class Rodimus Prime from Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy. Rodimus is our Commander class for Kingdom. Usually they do about one per part of the trilogy, and we have Rodimus here. First thing I want to talk about, the box. They are moving away from plastic packaging, so this is an all cardboard box, but really beautiful artwork here on the front. Kind of moving on to the next page. I did think it's interesting. This is just a complete rectangle box. Like there's no like angle at this point like all the rest of them have had. So not that it matters. I just found it interesting. But that artwork is very, very cool. So I like this quite a bit. Not too much going on the top or the bottom there. I guess that's just a sticker. I got this from Amazon. That's where I got mine. People have seen it in Targets and Walmarts as well. So if you're on the lookout for this guy, I would recommend one of those three. Amazon, Target, Walmart, probably your best bets. Here is that standard like mural that they have for Kingdom. Taking a look on the back, you can see we have the Rodimus Prime robot mode. He does have like a Hot Rod alt mode. I don't really know why. They did Hot Rod in the Studio series, the 86 Hot Rod, and that figure is almost perfect. And I mean, I'll get into it more as we take a look, but we do have the Space Winnebago mode. We have the playset mode with the little like opening trailer with the cannon and everything, just like his original G1 toy, which is very cool. So a lot going on with this one. There'll be a lot to take a look at. I'm going to go ahead. Let's get him out of the box. Let's take a closer look. So here's everything you get in the box. Like I said, there is no plastic insert. This stuff is all just zip tied to a cardboard tray that slides into the box. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, these two trailer pieces, just so we can kind of focus on the car real quick and all these accessories. So this is just a giant pile of accessories. He does have a gun, which can actually pop out. You can't separate it into two pieces like we've seen in the past, but you can do this thing where it hinges in the middle, and then you can peg that together there. You can actually peg this into the side of the car. You can see that there are two little peg spots up here, and you just peg that on like so. So if you want to store the gun on the side of the car, kind of looks ridiculous in my opinion, but you certainly can do it. So that's possible. He does also come with this sword, which I'm not super familiar with, but I believe it's from the comics. I think I read that somewhere. It's painted very nice. The silver on the blade, I think, looks really, really good. Now you can see it has these two slits in the center, and that's so that you can store it underneath. So you can store the gun and the sword on the vehicle here. It doesn't really work that great, I gotta be honest. First of all, the feet hanging off the back, I hate that, but we'll get into that in a minute. They get in the way, this piece here gets in the way. So technically you can store the sword under there, but it looks kind of clunky in my opinion, but it is possible. He does come with these black, like, smoke effect pieces, I guess, that you're supposed to peg on here to the end of his, like, smokestacks, I guess. I don't understand why these were done in black. I think that's a weird choice. But there you go. You can peg those onto the back. I would have much rather had maybe like a translucent clear or something to make it look smoky. That just would have, I'm sure this was cheaper. That's why I'm sure this happened, but the smoke done in black, I'm not a huge fan of that. And then you have these like various effect pieces. Obviously this is going to be for the Matrix later. We'll come back to that in robot mode. And then you just have these very similar to, I think, Omega Supreme. I think Jetfire. I think Skylinks had all of these where you can kind of add pieces to kind of increase the, effect. So you can kind of start with the base. You can add a second one to give it a little bit more. And then if you want to add a third one to make the explosion seem even larger. Obviously, I don't really think you'd use these two on their own, but, if you want to, you can. So you get two sets of those. You also get one of these. So you can kind of build this out. And again, you could really just do all of this if you want, make yourself a little Christmas tree, whatever you want to do. You've got some of these. So you have a decent amount of these effect pieces, which are pretty cool. You can peg these onto the back. I believe these peg on. Don't these peg on somewhere? Maybe I'm wrong. I know they peg onto the trailer. I thought they pegged onto the back of this as well. Okay, I don't think they do. I think I'm wrong on that. You just have the smoke ones that you can put on the back of the stacks. For some reason, I really thought they pegged into the back here as well, but they don't. So let's take a closer look at this car here. Let me zoom in a bit. So I've kind of said this many places when they first showed this off. I don't really understand why he needed a hot rod mode. we have the beautiful Studio Series, and just to bring that in, let's do a little comparison. This is the Studio Series 86 hot rod, and then this is the Commander class hot rod. I mean, there's a definite size difference. I mean, this is a very big, chunky boy. This is definitely much smaller, but I just think this one works better. It's sleeker. It doesn't have to be multiple things. I probably don't have it transformed exactly correctly. The top section always gives me a little difficulty there, but I still think this just looks fantastic. I love the design of the alt mode here. They really nailed it, and this is fine. I don't have a problem with this. I just don't think it's nearly as successful, and I didn't need it. I already have this, and this is perfect. So why couldn't they just give us, you know, just give us, like, the original toy was literally just like this, and then the legs stuck out the back, and it didn't have a full hot rod mode. It was just kind of like, you know, the robot did what it had to, and it fed into the trailer piece, and that was fine. So, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with the extra hot rod mode, but it does affect the combined Rodimus Prime mode, and that's why I don't enjoy it. And you'll see what I mean when we get there in a moment, but it rolls well. You know, I think it's okay. You can, like I said, you can add all those things. You can store the gun, the sword, you have the effect pieces. So, I mean, it works. I don't have a problem with it. I certainly think the Studio Series Hot Rod Alt mode is better. But that's what that is. Let's move on. Let's move on to the trailer, because the trailer is super fun. They did a really nice job with this. This goes down like this, and then you're supposed to pop this like this. That's the only problem I have. This just sits off like this, and it doesn't lie flat. You can't have it touch the ground. So that's kind of a weird option, but you can move this up and kind of click this back into place. Then you can lift this up, and then you can put the ramp down, because that's what the trailer does. So if you want, you could leave it like this, and that way the ramp would actually touch the ground, and that's kind of what I prefer. So either way, you know what I mean? This is going to be more like what the back of the actual trailer looks like, but this is a possibility if you don't want this mode where, and this just kind of, and this, be a little careful with this, because it really clicks into place, and I'm afraid one of these times I'm just going to bust it off. But yeah, I don't know. Something about that not laying flat bothers me. If it doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it. But if you're like me and that laying flat, or not laying flat, I should say, bothers you, you can do the alternate configuration where, I mean, you'll have to keep this up because, well, I mean, once you do this and then lift this up and then put this down, you can't really, like, if you try to close this, it's going to stop there. Even if you leave this, well, I guess you could do that. It's up to you. You have a couple options. I personally just kind of like this, but it's up to you. The official configuration when the trailer is fully open is to have that just lay down like that. So, doesn't lay flat, which kind of bothers me, but it is what it is. Alright, so we do have this gigantic tank piece. It's got kind of tank treads here. You can deploy this if this pops up. This will go down like this, and then this will open up, and you get the kind of battle station piece. There is a little tab that pops out here, and you can go ahead and peg this in. And then it does have two little handles that pop up as well. So let me tilt this. And I don't have Rodimus transformed yet, but we'll come back. You can spin this around because it is just a peg. This can also spin around on its own. Of course, you can pop in the effect pieces if you want, to whatever magnitude you would like. They all just fit in there. They're all the same size, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's fun. I think that looks pretty cool. It's just like the original toy where he had the cannon pop up, so that's pretty neat. You can go ahead, fold this down. This will fold up. This will come down like so. There is a little, if we take this back off, there is kind of a little piece here that flips out, kind of like a little stand, so that helps it balance. We close this back up. This pops up like so. This comes around, and it's kind of easier because there is a little tab here, and there's a little indentation for it. You can see right there. But you can't really close this over top of it, so you kind of have to, like, dovetail them together so that they fit. Just like that. And then this will swivel up and pop in there. And then these pieces will just close up. They clip together on the side, and then they also kind of clip together here. Now they have these spring pieces for when you pop in the hot rod mode. So just be aware that they don't get in the way. Mine doesn't stay closed all that well, especially with the cannon inside. If I take the cannon out, now be careful with these because when you open these, they're supposed to kind of ride and stay out. But this one, when I open this piece always gets stuck and I have to manually pop it over. So just be careful. It's supposed to, that's what this little nubbin is here for. It's supposed to kind of glide along here so that it stays out. But this one always goes inside. I don't know why. I don't know if mine's a little warped or something. It's very possible. But if I take this out, kind of lift this up, take this out, and then close these back up, it stays together a little better. It's still not perfect. I mean, it just, I don't know why. Mine will not stay closed. And it's very possible I have something misaligned, but I've really kind of played with it. That's a little better. That's actually, to be fair, that's the best I've gotten this to stay closed the entire time I've been playing with this. So that's great. So I guess you just kind of have to really play around with it a little bit. But here we have the trailer, and it is kind of neat. You can open this up. If you flip this open, you can pop this down so that it has like a ramp. And then I happen to have, here is a deluxe class Bumblebee from that Worlds Collide set. And he could easily drive up and ride inside. I'm sure probably some other deluxe figures could as well. It's just finding, you know, what's the right size. But at least Bumblebee can fit in there, which is pretty neat. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead. We're going to slide Hot Rod in. Now you want to just kind of line it up so that the wing fits into these tracks. You can see the slit here on the side. And you want to make sure that these things are kind of off to the side. Now how this works is you can see that there's a giant tab slot right there. And there is this little black piece that's kind of spring-loaded. And you want to just kind of slide this in until you'll hear it click into place. You really want to, as far back as you can. There you go. Now it clicks into place. These kind of spring to the side. And there you go. So here is Rodimus Prime, fully transformed with his trailer attached. And I'm sorry, this is too long. And this is the real reason I feel like it did not need a hot rod mode, because it takes away from this mode. It's a crazy space Winnebago, but I've always loved it because it's so crazy. But this just looks too long out the front. This, like, from here back should be eliminated. This, like, right at the base of the cab, or the, I don't know, what do you want to call this, cockpit, whatever, the inside, the interior of the vehicle where a human could sit, should be right up against these, I think, in my opinion, in the smokestacks. So, because they had to give it this hot rod mode that it didn't need, I feel like it hangs out and it just looks wrong. It's too distorted. I don't know. I don't hate it, but I certainly feel like it would be a lot tighter and better if about this inch was not present. And if this didn't have to have a separate hot rod mode, I feel like they could have engineered it a little better, and then it would fit in a little bit deeper. So I don't know. That's just me. I feel like they could have done something a little bit better there. Again, I don't hate it, but I definitely think it looks a little wrong. It just looks a little off in my opinion. We can go ahead. We can attach these to the end of these smokestacks now. How do I do this? I think it goes like that. There we go. Again, I just think the black was a bad choice, but you can pop those on both sides. One thing that's actually really neat, he's got a little, like, under the bed storage tray over here. So this whole piece can pop out, and you can just take it completely off. And then you can take these and actually fit them in here, and they kind of, like, not peg in, but just, like, friction into place because they have some tabs and things that will keep them in place. And, I mean, they're not falling out. And then this is the matrix piece. You can see that there's two little peg spots right there, and that's where it would peg onto the matrix. So that can pop here and peg into place, and then you can just kind of store this back underneath. I mean, if you don't want to do those, if you have accessories from other characters or figures, you can go ahead. Whatever will fit in that tray with clearance, you can do. And then this is what I was thinking of when I thought there was a connection spot on the back of the hot rod mode, because there is somewhere I really don't know that a space Winnebago could, you know, meet these speeds that it seems to insinuate with the fire out of the back here. But, you know, if you can get your space Winnebago up over 100 miles per hour, I would assume you could put these flames on here. So, like I said, I think it's cool. I'm glad it exists. I just really think this is a little bit too much hanging out the end. It just looks a little off, but I do still really like the trailer. I love that it opens up into the playset. I think that's really, really fun. Alright, so let's go ahead. Let's get to the Rodimus Prime transformation. There's no trick to this. You just kind of yank it out, and it's a little scary at times because I always feel like I'm going to break something, but we'll just go ahead and put this off to the side here. And now we have to get into this transformation, which is surprisingly more complicated than you would expect, but not altogether terrible. So let's just go ahead. Let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these little panels on the side here. They will come around and peg into these spots over here. Then you can kind of lift this whole piece up and just kind of hang that out up here. You can kind of unhook these pieces, and this is going to become his whole arm. So you can unpeg this, and then this will drop down to the side here. These pieces will flip in like so. You can lift this off, and then this will kind of drop down, and you can see that this is going to be the chest and head. These pieces will kind of peg backward. You just kind of push them down a little bit just to give them a little bit of definition in the chest. And then you can spin the head around 180 degrees. You're going to come down here, and you can see how part of this is black and part of this is gray. You're going to push the black part down into the body, and then this is going to come up and click into place. There we go. So you can see that there is a little tab and a tab slot right there. So you're just going to bring this down, and that will fold in on itself, and then these will click into place. There we go. Okay, so those are pegged into place. Now what you want to do, make sure this is down and make sure this piece is back. You can kind of lift this up a little bit. So just a real quick word of warning. There is a hinge here, and you're going to want to think that you can pull that straight up. You cannot. This piece is not meant to bend, just so you know. You want to spin this so you can kind of make sure that there's enough room. You want to spin this 180 degrees. It's a little difficult getting clearance sometimes. Hold on, this is supposed to go down, right? Oh, you know what? Maybe I have to spin this around as well. It's really just a matter of clearance. There we go. Let's move that. Then we can move this down. Then we can spin this around 180. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, now this is all in place. We can get this head section situated. So you can see underneath here, there is a tiny little like divot. And that is going to clip on to this tiny black tab right here. This gave me a lot of trouble. I couldn't get the chest pushed in enough. So you want to make sure that you push this in until that piece clicks in there. Otherwise, it's not going to get tight enough that it makes sense. So we need this gray piece here to click into this tab there. Okay, so once you do that, this will also, kind of this maroon part will start to push in against the black part pretty tight. And then you're going to want to bring this in, and this gray clip right here is going to clip in right here. So you kind of want to bring this back up, bring this in, and click all that together. And then we kind of have the chest, and you can see how it's it meets the waist now. And it can actually move nice and flush. And that actually works pretty well. Then we're going to come around. This will go back a little bit. This will spin around like so. And then this connection right here will peg in right there. So then we just kind of push that in. and that will all snap together, and we can zoom out here. And so we basically have the whole kind of upper part of Rodimus Prime. You can go ahead and pop the legs apart, come around to the back. This will open up. Then you can extend out the legs. That will kind of click into place there. These wheel pieces will push in ever so slightly, and then you have to push this in until it clears. And this can be, again, a little weird because it doesn't really want to clear. You kind of have to pry this back a little bit to get that to go in, and then this will click into place there, and then you can pop out the foot and the heel there. So it's a little weird, but you have to unpeg this, open this up, extend the leg down until that kind of goes into place. Make sure you push this wheel in. Then this will kind of just barely clear that. And then this will close up. And then we can flip out the foot. So there is the legs. Let me zoom out here. Now I know what you might be thinking, you know, what's going on with Rodimus Prime? It looks like he is wearing a long sleeve shirt and he just pulled his hand into the sleeves. Yes, that is weird. Let's go ahead and fix that. So this piece will fold down. This will flip around like this. Then there's a hinge right here where my thumb is. This will flip around like so. This will flip 180. And then there's a tiny tab right here and a tab slot. And this will kind of fill this empty space on the back of his elbow. So it's kind of a crazy amount of toy engineering here, but this will all line up and fit in there and kind of just looks natural. You can also pull this away a little bit so you can get the full range of motion there. Now you can see his fingers are kind of sticking out, so you can kind of bend that in. Just for now, we'll fix that a little bit later. So we're going to do this again real quick. This goes down, this flips out, this goes like this spins around, this folds in, and then that pegs in against there, and then you just kind of fix the fingers, and there you go. Now we have the completed robot mode, and he looks pretty good. Alright, so Rodimus Prime, he looks pretty good. I really do like him. Let's take a look at the head sculpt, because he definitely, he has that kind of more mature, grizzled look, like definitely not the same as the Studio Series Hot Rod, and I'll do a comparison with them in the robot mode in a minute. But yeah, really nice silver paint there for the face. The blue eyes look good. Head is on a ball joint, so you have plenty up and down. There's also a hinge at the base of the neck, so that moves, as well as at the base of the skull. Swivel side to side. You can tilt a little bit side to side. You have a hinge and kind of a butterfly joint. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but this piece doesn't 100% lock in anywhere, so you get a little bit of a butterfly joint there. You have a swivel there. You have a hinge. You have kind of a double jointed elbow, so you can get some nice posing there. You do have an elbow kind of swivel as well in the middle of the elbow. You have hands that can rotate. You have crazy articulation with the fingers. So the index finger is separate from the other fingers, as you can see there. Now mine's almost looks like it's a little warped because you can see how that's a little bit wider there. But you have a bend in the finger like that. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different points of articulation in the fingers. So that's pretty cool. You have a waist swivel. You do have movement here in the hip. I thought that was a flap at first. I think you have side flaps. That's what it is. So he can kick pretty decently out to the side. This whole piece goes forward. You can go a little bit to the back, but not a ton. You do have a thigh swivel. You have, I believe, yeah, double jointed knees, one right here and one right here. And then you have ankle tilt and some toe movement because of the transformation. So he's got a lot of articulation. Really, really nice. Definitely a very cool figure. Let's do a comparison real quick with Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. So you can see, very noticeable in terms of height. He comes up to about his mid-chest, and that's with the spoiler, so, you know, you can kind of get like an Arise Rodimus Prime scene going on here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you can also tell that he's kind of more of the magenta that we see in the movie, and then he's definitely more of the darker maroon that they saw later on in the cartoon. So that's kind of neat as well. So definitely noticeable differences between those two. You can bring in those effect pieces still. Let me bring in the trailer so I can get these guys out of the tray. We'll bring all of these pieces out. You can go ahead and hook these on here if you want him to kind of use these as, like, you know, he's firing something. He did that a couple times in the movie. Don't know if I really saw him ever do that on the cartoon, but he did do that a couple times in the movie. Let's go ahead. We will give him his giant gun. So you can go ahead and peg that into his hand. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and give him his sword as well. Now, they kind of peg in even without the fingers because of the thumb. So you could even leave the fingers completely open. Just kind of curl them around. So he's got the sword. He's got the gun. He looks cool. I do like his accessories. Like I said, I still don't really care for these, but I do like the gun and the sword. Also, because we can't do a comparison to just Hot Rod, here is Leader Class Megatron. Listen to me, Galvatron, yikes. In any case, Galvatron, you know, scales pretty well. I think they look pretty good. He's definitely a touch shorter than Galvatron. If we put him back to back, I mean, I would say with the spoiler, with the wing on the back, he's about the same size as Galvatron. But you know, his head probably comes up to like the very base. So he's maybe a head taller. I would say he's about a head taller. But yeah, they scale pretty well. They look great together. But yeah, they scale pretty well. So definitely want to show him off with Galvatron. He does, of course, have the Matrix. If we go ahead and pop this panel open, there is the Matrix inside. So we will go ahead and pop that out of there. And then we will use the effect piece. It's very similar to the one that came with the Studio Series Hot Rod. But it's pretty cool. I think it's a nice effect piece. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how he can hold the Matrix because it's very small. And I don't know if his arms will be able to clear it. But let's go ahead. Let's try it. I mean, he does kind of have that butterfly joint. And because he has the extra... No, you know, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, look at this. He can already... Because of that extra elbow joint, yeah, he really should have no trouble. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's just loop. Come on now, open up. We'll just loop the thumbs in there. It just seems so small. I really feel like it should be a little bit bigger in comparison with him. But he can hold it. He can definitely hold it. We can put the effect piece back on. Let's get that going. There we go. Oh, it's popped off his finger. We'll get it. It's right there. You get it. So that's cool. I do like that. I just feel like that's small. I mean, I understand it has to be because it has to fit in his chest, so I get it. But it definitely does seem a little tiny. I don't know if I showed off the heels as well. He's got pretty nice size heels. And because you have that nice movement there, the heels almost kind of blend into the back of his calf. But, you know, it works. And he stands well. So yeah, overall, I really like the robot mode. I still think this one is just a little bit more polished. But again, this is Hot Rod. This is Rodimus Prime. You know, he's got the height, the stature. This guy's got that, like, almost movie-esque quality. Like, I feel like this one almost jumped off the movie page. The screen. Listen to me. What's wrong with me today? In any case, I think this one's a little bit more... I'll just say it, beautiful, for lack of a better term. This one's more functional and definitely looks more gritty and battle damaged and battle ready. And this one, you know, seems more just like polished and just has a better aesthetic, in my opinion. So I like this guy a lot. I don't think he's perfect. I think there's a couple small things that keep him from being perfect, but I do really like him. I'm glad they gave him to us. First and foremost, I really like having the trailer playset. I think that's really fun. Something we definitely didn't get with the Power of the Primes version of Rodimus Prime because it had to become part of the body. So I do really like having this. I'm glad that they gave it to us. It's very, very reminiscent of the original toy. The cannon and everything works really well. It's got the nice articulation here. It's got the little controls up here, and he does scale well with it. You can kind of pop him in here and kind of get those hands up, holding on to the controls, and I think that works really well. So I'm really, really happy about that. A couple of minor things with the trailer. I wish this was more like laid flat. I think having that just sit there is a little lazy. They could have done something with that. I did show off how you can kind of pull this piece up if you wanted to extend down like a ramp, but then you'll always have, you know, the archway there. But it's still cool. It has a little connection point here so you can connect it with all the other ramps and everything from all the rest of the trilogy. So that's kind of cool. When I close it up into trailer mode, especially with the cannon inside, you know, these two pieces don't close all the way for me. That's a bit of a bummer. I hope it's not a widespread problem. I hope it's just kind of a minor QC thing. I mean, it stays together well enough. But again, just a minor thing that just takes it away from being 100% for me. The way these things work on the back here, like they're spring-loaded, and I get why they are. But when I'm opening and closing the trailer, mine kind of gets in the way. And again, I think that's just a little QC thing on mine. So again, not a huge problem, but just a little thing that takes it away from being a perfect figure. The robot mode, I like it. I do. I think this is definitely a more mature Rodimus Prime. Like if this Studio Series figure is kind of the movie Hot Rod, the novice, you know, the young punk, you know, cutting his teeth. This is the, you know, battle commander, you know, he's seen some stuff, Rodimus Prime. And I think that's kind of neat because this seems a little bit more polished, a little bit more, like he has the youth quality. You feel it when you look at this figure. He looks like a young, inexperienced fighter. And then when you look at this, this is like, he's seen some stuff. This is a war-hardened Autobot. So I like that. I like having both of them for that reason. They almost feel like two different characters. Even though you know they're not, it almost feels that way. And I think that's really cool. So I do appreciate that. I do like the look of this guy. He's got great articulation. You know, the paint applications are really good. The transformation's a little wonky in spots, especially when I'm trying to put those wheels into the back of the calf because they don't really clear. You kind of have to push them in there and force them a little bit. And that just worries me every time. Like I feel like I'm going to break something. But I mean, the articulation, especially in the hand and the fingers and everything, is really, really nice. I like the way they did the chest. The matrix fits inside, which is nice. I do like the head sculpt a lot. The wing on the back looks pretty cool. So I just don't really feel like he needed the Hot Rod alt mode because he's Rodimus Prime. So I've just got a really great Hot Rod with a great Hot Rod alt mode. I didn't need that here. I feel like they could have just done, you know, a little bit more basic cab that plugs into the trailer, and then it would have set a little bit more flush. I think it hangs a little bit too far out the side, or out the front rather. The cab hangs out a little bit too much, and it just looks a little off to me. Again, not terrible, just looks a little off and keeps it from being a perfect figure for me. So like I said, there's just a couple of minor nitpicks. Overall, I do really like this release. I think it's a lot of fun. I definitely still recommend picking it up. It's just one of those things that be aware of a couple little things. It's just not a perfect figure in my mind for those couple little things, but I could just be nitpicking, and I get that. Could just be some QC issues on mine, and I get that as well. And that's why I'm definitely still recommending him. I think he's great. He looks good. There's just a few things that, you know, personally for me, take it away from being a perfect figure. But I still absolutely recommend checking it out. Great accessories, great paint applications. Transformation is complicated, but not too overly complicated. Once you do it once or twice to get the hang of it, it's really not that bad. And I absolutely love the trailer playset. That's really a lot of fun for me. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.